I'm privileged to welcome all of you to the third edition of the Orange City Literature Festival, organized by SGR Knowledge Foundation in association with GH Raisoni University, powered by Raisoni Groups of Institutions, a platform that celebrates wisdom, experiences, notions, and narratives from all walks of life. Having said that, it is thrilling to be here with you all today. I am Mustafa Juzer, enlightened and delighted to be your anchor for today's session. Nalanda Suppressed History by Miss Shivani Singh. Now, talking more about Miss Shivani Singh, she is a novelist who writes historical fictions. Her first novel, Raja is Dead, was published by Harper Collins in India and Romania. Secret of Sirikot and Lonely Gods was published by Hachette. Nalanda, published this year by Amaryllis, will also be available in Hindi and Marathi. It is an absolute honor to have you with us, Ms. Shivani Singh, and I once again welcome you. Also, before we move ahead, I would like to take a moment and acknowledge the support of Amaryllis Manjul Publications, as their support has been massively valuable to the Orange City Literature Festival. Now, I humbly invite Ms. Shivani Singh to lead us ahead. Over to you, Ms. Shivani Singh.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is the presentation ready? Okay. So let's warm all of you up. Looks like, yes, this is fine.
Bye.
Have to wear the mask?
निकल move.
Start. Okay. So, looks like we have a lot of college students here. Yes. Studying? Yes. Some esteemed members of the faculty, also some faculty members. So, my book is, it's not past tense, it still is on Nalanda, but Nalanda is past tense. Nalanda was. So, before I start, I would love to know what people think or know of Nalanda. Anybody?
One of the best universities.
One of the ma'am is saying, do we have a roaming mic? Is it possible? So we can hear. So ma'am said one of the best universities, which is correct. If you rate it, you know what to pass around, like Benjamin says. Yeah. So it can be dated. It was started, they say, around the time that Gautam Buddha started the Sangha. Now there is various conflict about dates. So some say around 300 BC, some say around 500 BC. So that's how old maybe the Sangha or the Buddhist coming together and centralization of knowledge started. Of course, Ashoka took it up. So it is probably one of the most ancient universities. It was not the only university. There were many universities. Takshila, you may have heard of, Vikramshila, you may have heard of, Udantapuri. There are some in Bangladesh, many in Pakistan now, modern day Pakistan. Then even in the south we had, in Orissa we had Pushpagiri. So there were a lot of monastic establishments in Ladakh, in the north, in the Himalayan regions. So Nalanda was not the only one. Anybody else? What else? I think you wanted to say.
Yeah.
Is it the mic is?
Yuan Chong had studied there and it was owned by Author
Right. Who studied there? Win Sang. Yes.
Yeah, I think I was audible. Yuan Chong studied there and it was later
You have a
on
loud voice. Yes.
burned by Bacteria
Yes.
because I teach history.
Yeah, okay. So yes, you have a teaching voice. So yes, Win Sang came, he was a traveler, Win Sang and Fangyan. He gave a very detailed description of Nalanda and the people. and about all the travels that he went through. So a lot of what we know about Nalanda actually came from from Huinsang's chronicles, and we also got to know from Huinsang and Taranath and a lot of other, not they're not very many, they're handful, that how Buddhism really spread right up to China, Mongolia, and Zen Buddhism. How many of you have heard about Zen? Zen Buddhism. And if you look at the Shaolin monks, they say was started by a Buddhist monk who called Bodhidharma, who went to China, and Kerali Payattam became karate. So Kerali Payattam went from Kerala. A lot of Buddhist monks from the south, they went there. So a lot of cultural exports also happened, like karate and even Zen meditation techniques. Through Buddhism, I would say that Buddhism was probably one of the most successful exports of India for around 1,000 years, and it went all over Asia, right up till Japan, Indonesia, Malaysia. So, okay, so now we have Nalanda. So, why am I calling it suppressed history? Any guesses?
The question
So I would like you to guess. Why is it called suppressed? Why do you think I would call it suppressed history? Yes.
because they were suppressed and they were maybe ruled over, controlled. That's why they were called suppressed. Because the actual meaning of the word suppressed means being ruled over.
Being ruled over. Any other?
वो नहीं चाहते होंगे कि ये पता चले कुछ vested interest, some vested interests are also there, you know, they don't want this to come out, otherwise their position might be untenable.
Correct. That is one of the most important things. Why I tentatively would call it suppressed history. The reason I call it suppressed history is so little is known about it, and this is a huge period. I mean, you can even call it the Buddhist period. If you take from Gautam Buddha to the decline of Buddhism, people cannot date it. So I'm talking about 500 BC, 1500 साल ले लीजिए आप. 500 BC to, let's say, to Bhaktiar Khilji, okay, people, again, it's a mystery. People presume it's Bhaktiar Khilji because there is a town over there is a railway station today called Bhaktiarpur, and it is around Nalanda, so it's a fact that he was there. But there is a lot of controversy whether he destroyed Nalanda or some another university. But the fact is, around the time of Islamic invasion, a lot of Buddhist monasteries were destroyed. But if you look at the Buddhist period, it is around 500 BC to, let's say, 1200 AD. 1200 AD to 1300 AD is around the time you can say Buddhism got wiped out. Today, there is hardly any presence. Today, if we have any presence of Buddhism, we can change this life. So today, if we have any Buddhism, it would be thanks to modern Buddhism, and understanding of Buddhism would come from Dr. Ambedkar. He is the only one who revived it to a certain extent. But this, I talk about Nalanda, my description of Nalanda, my story, it's fiction. My book is not a non-fiction book. It's a fiction book. So with all the masala of a fiction book. So it's not one of those. So I totally encourage everybody to read it. It has a lot of philosophical tenets, but it's written like a mystery novel, a murder mystery novel. So don't ask me how I managed to do that. I have to redraft it 5 times to fit in all these elements, to fit in my history in a murder mystery format. So that part was difficult. So I actually have, in this 1500-year period, I have picked up the timeline when Nalanda was supposed to have been sacked and burnt. There are a lot of stories about that, about how it took 3 months to burn. I built my own alternative history around it. My theory of what must have happened over there, which is a bit controversial. So for that you have to read the book, otherwise it will become a spoiler. So there is a lot of controversy in the sense that, not controversy, there are a lot of things being said about Nalanda starting point because it got totally wiped out. There is, and it was a township. It was like a university town. It was self-sufficient. It was like a academic kingdom, so to speak, one of its kind. You know, you can imagine the ambience and the mood and the setup. No film has been made of this. There should be. They say there were around 1 million books got destroyed. So one of the most important things which we need to understand about Nalanda, what came to me while writing Nalanda, was around 1500 years, the amount of knowledge systems which accumulated. Because you know, before that, the Indic civilization was, if you look at what you call Sanatan Dharma, or you know, the various Brahmanical study and scripture, it was not centralized. It was done in a very Guru Shishya Parampara kind of thing. It was mostly done by Shruti and Smriti. It was a lot of texts were written, but there was no centralization of knowledge. This entire concept of an academic institution started when the Sangha happened. And Sangha basically happened, you know, to start creating a community of egalitarian seekers, maybe away from the prevalent time of maybe there was a discontent with the way things were being followed at that time. So they wanted to break away and start a more egalitarian, more eclectic kind of community, which was more open to all, was how it started. But that was the motive, you know, the Dharma Sangha, Dharmami Gacchami, Sangham Gacchami, Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. So that refuge of the Sangha, was a refuge of a religious commune, also brought about a collection of the knowledge systems, even of Vedic scripture. So they say that in Nalanda, you can change this. Okay. You can change it again. Okay. So I have to cover a little bit. So they say that in Nalanda at that time, everything was studied, from astronomy to Ayurveda. You know, they had observatories. There were some kind of telescopes. In my book, I've really got imaginative about the kind of scientific knowledge systems that would have been created. Because the other very interesting thing about that time was that with the decline of Buddhism, I mean, this is of course to be studied, and this is not something, I'm just throwing it out there, but there is no proof of this, but it's conjecture. But the fact is that after the decline of the Buddhist period, around that time, there was an explosion of the knowledge information revolution in the West. So a lot of you know, systems in science and in medicine, in astronomy, everything disappeared from here. So you can imagine 1 million manuscripts. Where did they go? Now 1500 years of knowledge of every possible subject under the world. Where did it go? How did it disappear? So that is why I am calling it suppressed history, in the sense that there is so little really known about it. And that was, in a sense, a golden period, because everything flourished at that time. Trade flourished, you know, the silk route and the spice routes, so you know, the maritime routes. So that was the time when India geographically was placed as a world leader, where economy was concerned, where egalitarian social harmony and balance was concerned, and like I said, we were exporting our culture and concepts. Today, a lot of what you see in Pan-Asian countries like Garuda is still, I think, the emblem of Malaysia. You go to Angkor Wat, you go to Cambodia, go to Thailand, you know, you go to Japan. A lot of our iconic deities are still worshipped there. You look at Afghanistan, you know, the Bamiyan Buddhas were there till around 20-30 years ago, huge statues. And there were these monastic caves, they dug up, you know, rock cut caves. And it was an entire culture and an entire tradition of a very peaceful time, a time of knowledge, a time of trade and harmony and economy, which suddenly disappeared. So I will come then to Buddhism now. So that is why I call it suppressed history, because there seems to be a lot out there, like a treasure trove of information, of history. One of the reasons you can speculate about why is that period, why is history silent in that period? Because this is a period when there was a knowledge explosion in the West. But this disappeared. Nobody wants to talk about the kind of excellence and the pinnacle of achievement that was achieved in Buddhist time.
Was it actually destroyed or
You know, correct. So I'm not saying it, but thank you for saying it. So ma'am just said that was it destroyed on purpose or whether it was taken. So one of the theories is that over 1500 years, because this was a place where knowledge was getting centralized. So, and people were coming, especially traders. Traders from the Middle East would come, traders from China would come. So, a lot of the knowledge was being crossing borders and going. So, it went to the West. There is also I've written about that in the book, like Al-Jabr. Al-Jabr was, they say that he was an Arabic trader. So, it could be that they knew the value of this. And they were the ones, the ones who were traveling would come to these places because knowledge was open those days. So you could take it from here. They say even Pythagoras. There is a story about Pythagoras about how he was denied entry in a Buddhist monastery in Takshila. And he somehow outside, they say that outside the university, he, because admission was not free for everybody. He studied outside the university and he managed to come up with theories. And of course, the Pythagoras roots of the theorem can be found in Indian texts. So there is a lot of conjecture that if Pythagoras could get so much knowledge by hanging around outside the university, imagine what was being eaten inside these universities. So it was, why I'm calling it suppressed history is also because it was a knowledge revolution of that time. Which we need to discover. So I'm hoping that at least some of you will get sparked off to join this discovery, because it will need a lot of digging to find out what all happened. It's 1500 years of history and we know very little about it. So now I need to go back to Dr. Okay, go forward a bit. So I talked about, okay, let me talk a little more about the golden age. So we did talk about how this was a time when there was a golden age, and why I call it a seamless synthesis is, I will tell you why. I will go to the other aspect of Nalanda. I've talked about knowledge and I've talked about, there is a possibility that we had achieved knowledge to a height that was probably more than we have today, because we feel that today the technological revolution is probably the ultimate which we have achieved. But if you look at some of the texts which are available, the knowledge of electricity was available. They knew how to produce electricity. They knew about magnetism. They knew about a lot of scientific theories which we presume that they would know. So if they knew about all that, what else could they have done? So there is a possibility that they had reached certain heights which were probably even more than what we are today. When knowledge is concerned, I'm not only talking about theoretical knowledge. So this is one big misconception that the Buddhist Sangha or the academic institutions like Nalanda only studied religion. No, they were studying maths, they were studying science, they were studying metallurgy, they were studying artisanry. Every conceivable subject under the sun was being studied. So they say Sushrut. Of course, this is again, people say it. Some people will say he was Vedic, some people will say he's Buddhist. But he was born in the Buddhist time, and he was the first surgeon. He was doing cataract surgery. So for cataract surgery, you need anesthesia. So and they were doing precision surgery, bone setting and things like that. Cosmetic surgery. Sushrup did cosmetic surgery. Can you imagine rhinoplasty? 500 BC. So that was the kind of knowledge we have. So one of the reasons I'm calling it suppressed history is, we need to go back and study the knowledges which was burned down. Because even though they burnt it was all burnt and sacked, finished. Some traces will be there somewhere. So we need to trace that back. So that is why I'm calling it seamless synthesis also. Is there is another big misunderstanding about Buddhism. People think that Buddhism, like Hinduism also, is a homogeneous structure. It was not a homogeneous, and people think that Buddhism, basically, if you can go back, the modern understanding of Buddhism now, and I think that for this understanding of Buddhism to be a homogeneous structure, the modern proponent of Buddhism was Ambedkar in around the time we got, which he's a 20th century phenomenon. So if anybody could share about what you know about Ambedkar, please, what do you know about Ambedkar?
चेंज लाया था, मतलब बहुत सारे इसमें चेंजेस लाए थे जो लाइक कास्ट रिलीजन डिस्क्रिमिनेशन जो भी होता था उनके पे चेंजेस वगैरह लाए थे उन्होंने.
So that was the context in which Buddhism was revived around the time of Ambedkar. Anybody else has any thoughts on this matter? So, okay.
ये मगध सभ्यता का हिस्सा था या तब भारत सभ्यता थी?
भारत सभ्यता तो सदा से चली आ रही है. Is that a question for me? What do you think, sir?
नहीं, मुझे लगता है ये मगध सभ्यता था.
मगध, हाँ, तो उसी पे मैं आ रही हूँ. मगध was पाला राजा थे. It was a Pala dynasty, and Patliputra was the capital of Magad at that time. Now that is why I want to, इसको मैं seamless synthesis इसलिए भी बोलती हूँ, and that is where I want to contrast. एक तो मैं आप दोनों की बात लेती हूँ. It is very interesting. What she said is modern, and what you said is Magad, Patliputra Magad. So हाँ, तो वो एक स्पेक्ट्रम में लीजिए कि जो था और जो बुद्धिज्म बना. तो उन्होंने बहुत बढ़िया बताया अबाउट अम्बेडकर, जो कॉन्टेक्स्ट में वो अम्बेडकर बुद्धिज्म की रिवाइवल किए. उस टाइम इट वाज बेसिकली टू गो अगेंस्ट द कास्ट सिस्टम ऑफ द हिंदू ट्रेडिशन एंड द ब्रह्मानिकल oppression of the other castes was one of the reasons why Dr. Ambedkar also became, because he was also I think one of the oppressed. He considered himself to be one of the oppressed classes, and he encouraged people to follow Buddhism because his understanding of Buddhism was that it was eclectic, मतलब ये divides नहीं है, and it was anti-Vedic, so it was anti-Hindu in nature. So you don't have to worry about all the flaws of Hinduism, and it was anti-caste. And it was it was anti-religion, because वो ईश्वर पे नहीं विश्वास करते हैं, तो वो उनकी मान्यता थी. तो उस हिसाब से मगर that was Ambedkar, and to a large extent that is our understanding of Buddhism today. Is there anybody in this room who has a different understanding about Buddhism? Yes, I would be very interested to know if people have a different understanding.
अभी Buddhism exactly क्या होगा? Like religion or philosophy?
हाँ,
exactly क्या कहलाया जाएगा फिर अभी? वो religion ही हो रहा है कि philosophy बन गई है.
But what do you think Buddhism is? Do you think it's a religion? It's a philosophy? What do you?
वही मतलब that's a question from
your side.
हाँ.
Okay, I will answer that once I finished with this question of what do you think? Is there a difference between Ambedkar's insight of Buddhism and what you consider to be Buddhism?
With due respect to Dr. Ambedkar and all gathered here, my perception of Buddhism is it is absolutely open. It is a way of life.
Like,
I'm using the word because my young friend talked of religion, philosophy, and in my mind there's no confusion. It's way, way beyond. I'm not a Buddhist. I'm not.
people keep asking me, are you Buddhist?
But no, but I got to state this.
I don't know the answer to that.
I'm responding to this because see, sometimes we label people.
मुझे बहुत ही क्वेश्चन आता है, Buddhist हो?
What I'm saying is my perception of Buddhism is it is so vast and open. We tend to ignore it. We tend to accept what others are saying all over the globe rather than what we have here.
So if you had to give it certain attributes, my specific question is that that's what Ambedkar also believed, that it was basically its attributes were not like Hinduism, number one. It was anti-Vedic. Buddha did not believe in God, and he did not believe in sectarianism in the sense of division of caste. So do you agree with Dr. Ambedkar that is how Buddhism was practiced? Do you agree with him?
I don't believe that is how it is practiced. I believe this is how it is and what it is as per my reading and my experience and interaction with people. As I said, my perception from the beginning. I don't have a fixed idea on it. I'm open to it.
Correct.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sir, what did you say?
बुद्धिज्म के बारे में क्या इसकी कुछ राय है
आप माइक पे।
मैंने एक किताब पढ़ी द आर्ट ऑफ हैप्पीनेस बाय दलाई लामा जी एंड हावर्ड कटलर. दलाई लामा ऑफ कोर्स एवरीबॉडी नोस हु इज एंड हावर्ड कटलर इज अ साइकियाट्रिस्ट इन अमेरिका. बुद्धिज्म एक ऐसा धर्म है जिसके अनुयायी जिसके हेड हैं दलाई लामा, उनकी कंट्री छिन रही है, उनका टिकट उनके पास नहीं है, वो इंडिया में धर्मशाला में रह रहे हैं और येट वो हावर्ड कटलर जी उस किताब में लिखते हैं उनके चेहरे पर शिकन नहीं है. बुद्धिज्म एक ऐसी फिलॉसफी है, ऐसी वे ऑफ लाइफ है जो शिस्म हम लोग ने सोसाइटी में बना के रखी है ना, कि किसी को ऊपर उठाने के लिए किसी को नीचे जाना है. दलाई लामा जी में ऐसा चीज नहीं है. बुद्धिज्म एक ऐसा धर्म है जो वो कह रहे हैं कि मुझे तो सिर्फ कंपैशन ही नजर आता है. बुद्धिज्म को टूल बना करके इस्तेमाल कर लेना पर्सनली स्पीकिंग मुझे समझ में नहीं आया. और वो किताब आर्ट ऑफ हैप्पीनेस
पोलिटिसाइजेशन
वर्ल्ड वाइड बेस्ट सेलर है. बुद्धिज्म तो एक ऐसा धर्म है जो आपको यहीं पे बैठा हुआ हैप्पीनेस की अल्टीमेट तक पहुंचा सकता है. ऐसा मेरी
बुद्धिज्म को धर्म कहा, धर्म में हम उसको नहीं कर सकते.
कैसे आप धर्म नहीं कह सकते?
नहीं, वो कह रहे हैं कि वो धर्म है.
अम्बेडकर
नहीं, धर्म ही कहा जाता है
जी,
वो धर्म नहीं कहा जाता है. ये ब्राह्मणिकल नैरेटिव में धर्म बनाए. दूसरा मेरा दो सवाल है, क्या वो नालंदा राज्य पोषित था?
नहीं, ऑटोनोमस था.
ऑटोनोमस. लेकिन मैंने एक दो जगह पढ़ा कि 1200 गांवों का राजस्व उसको मिलता था तब नालंदा से.
हाँ, but it was in Nalanda's control. नालंदा की बहुत लंबी हिस्ट्री. नालंदा अशोका के टाइम से जो शुरू हुई वो तो it was there for 1000. Can you imagine an academic institution? Even हार्वर्ड अभी जो हम लोग मानते हैं ऑक्सफोर्ड हार्वर्ड वो 1930s 1940s में बनी हुई है. Can you imagine an academic institution which was there in Buddha's time 1000 years? So there was जो शुरुआत जो होती थी संघा की, that was all by royal patrons. तो वहाँ पे आपको खूब सारी इंस्क्रिप्शंस भी मिलेंगी. बहुत you will find a lot of inscriptions also from the royal time, but later on Nalanda became very autonomous, and that is why I am calling it also seamless synthesis. वो वाली जो slide है, why देखिए how it all used to operate, because Buddhism was fine academically. There was a lot of study, and they were doing mathematics, and they were doing astronomy, and they were doing atomic science and all that. But it came under a religious banner. Buddhism was a religious banner, and its patrons were always Buddhist kings. कोई बुद्धिस्ट राजा होगा वही बुद्धिज्म को स्प्रेड कराएगा. So it became, to say that Buddhism became political only during the time of Ambedkar would be wrong. Every religion at that time was, maybe in a different way, it was being patronized by Buddhist kings. तो वो राइवलरी भी होती थी. हिंदू किंगडम्स और पुष्यमित्रा संघ के बारे में भी हुआ होगा, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होता होगा. So there were Buddhist kings who would patronize, and there were Hindu kings who would patronize anti-Buddhist activities. ये सब होता था. But मेरे कहने का ये मतलब है कि शुरुआत में there is a map over here. I will go to the map to explain how. शुरुआत में भी also the reason I asked you that question about Buddhism and what is your understanding of Buddhism. जैसे आपने कहा कि मगध के टाइम में अलग था, and अम्बेडकर जी के टाइम में it was more an anti-caste, an anti-Hindu, and an anti-theological, Brahmanical kind of a religion. मगर अगर आप 1500 साल की अगर उनकी आप हिस्ट्री देखोगे, Buddhism had morphed into a lot of things. It was a very dynamic kind of a system, and वो seamlessly बहुत सारी elements को synthesize करके वो spread किया है. And in a very strange way, the seamless synthesis was a lot of positive cultural inputs. Like मैंने बोला ना, Keralipayattu became karate, jujitsu. These were all Shaolin monks, basically for Buddhist monks. Samurai warriors के बारे में आपने सुना होगा. Samurai warriors in Japan. उनकी आर्मर में एक बुशिडो कोड लिखी जाती थी, which was written in the Nalanda script. तो जो क्षत्रिय धर्म की जो वॉरियर की जो कोड होती है, that script traveled to Japan and it was put in the samurai would inscribe it in their armors, the Bushido code. So a lot of positive cultural aspects, even our icons and deities, including Vishnu, including Shiv, including Lakshmi, they all became incorporated in Buddhism. तो सबसे जरूरी चीज हमें ये समझना है कि जो शुरू में जो था, अगर आप पूरी हिस्ट्री में लीजिए तो वो आप डिवाइड कर सकते हैं टू हिनायाना एंड महायाना. जो अंबेडकर की जो कॉन्सेप्ट्स है अबाउट इट बीइंग एंटी कास्ट एंड एंटी हिंदू एंड एंटी ब्रह्मानिकल, दैट वुड बी मोस्टली हिनायाना, जहाँ पे वो अशोक चक्र को और सिंबॉलिकली द डियर्स ऑफ सारनाथ, देयर वाज नो आइकन्स. तो वो माना जाता है that it was anti-Hindu, because Hindu is iconic, Hindu is Vedic, and Hindu is not, Hindu is Brahmanical. तो लोग बोलते हैं that part of Buddhism you can say was different from Hinduism, but in the Mahayana उसको Theravada Buddhism भी कहते हैं. आज के टाइम में, so this is something which is people, why I call it, it's a misconception. आज के टाइम में this form of Buddhism is found only in Sri Lanka. It is found, I think, in Indonesia and maybe Thailand and Burma. These are what they call themselves Theravada, where Buddhism is practiced in a monastic way, and where the eightfold path and the four noble truths जो शुरू में जो बुद्ध बोले थे उसको फॉलो किया जाता है. But Mahayana Buddhism and the rest, आप देखिएगा, if you look at the map, that brown area, can you go back to the map please? This area, Hinayana Buddhism. So what I'm saying, the concept of Ambedkar's Buddhism is restricted to this area. The rest of it, जो अभी तो दलाई लामा की बात करी आप, somebody spoke about the Dalai Lama, that's Mahayana Buddhism. Vajrayana Buddhism is Mahayana Buddhism. It went right up to China, Mongolia, Afghanistan, the Bamyan statues, there were monasteries there, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and right up till the Pacific, right up till Japan. All that was Mahayana Buddhism. I don't want to say this, but I'm trying to make this is just gossip. So don't take it seriously. But there is just lighting the mood, that there is a very, very controversial, nobody talks about it, that there is a theory that Jesus Christ was a Buddhist Lama. So this is a joke that he came. I don't know whether anybody's heard about it. So there are lots of stories about how he grew up in the Hermes monastery in Ladakh. And then he died in Kashmir and it was not resident. वो बहुत सारी उसमें नहीं जाएंगे हम. But what I'm saying is that there was this time when Buddhism was spread all of Asia. And why I'm calling it seamless synthesis is that it incorporated a lot of concepts which were part of the Hindu sampradaya, like iconism, deity worship was practiced. A lot, अगर आप Vajrayana Buddhism को ले, and if you look at the Shaiva and the Shakta traditions, there is very little difference. बहुत कम आपको फर्क नजर आएगा. तो उसमें से हमें ये लगता है कि उस जमाने के जो राजा थे, जो रॉयल पेट्रन्स थे, they were more interested in the seeking aspect, in the spiritual aspects of the religion, because Buddhism had a lot to offer. It was offering enlightenment. And the process of enlightenment, especially the Nalanda Acharyas, what they came up with was, it was a synthesis of a lot of Shaivism, a lot of Shaktism, lot of what you call indigenous जो worship है, जो हमारे मूल निवासी और वनवासी लोग का जो practices है, वो सबको लेके Vajrayana Buddhism बना. And Vajrayana Buddhism spread like wildfire, maybe because there was a lot of supernatural जो सिद्धीज वगैरह लोगों को होने लगी. And if you look at इन्होंने दलाई लामा के बारे में बोला, आप वहां पे चले जाइए, लोगों के फेस में शिकन नहीं होती. It was, so they seem to have found the key in the synthesis जो निकल के आई, उसमें से they seem to have found some kind of secrets to spiritual enlightenment, which also became very popular and which started spreading, which is also now very secret. So अब हम आगे चलते हैं. So this is the map which I made. I tried to recreate the whole world, the world of Nalanda as an academic, because as when I was writing, I was so enraptured by this whole concept of learning, when the entire focus is on learning and enlightenment and the study of scripture. So the libraries और बहुत सारी जो हमने sources and मुझे मिले, तो उसमें I made this map. I thought I'd just share. आप आगे बढ़े? Yeah, so the story basically is of two brothers. It's a fiction book, please remember, it's not non-fiction. So this is just a brief plot about two brothers. One ends up becoming a royal patron. तो वो राजा, दोनों राजा के बेटे हैं. One becomes a monk, the other becomes a minister. And the murder mysteries murders which start happening in Nalanda, उसको investigate करना के लिए दोनों को एक कमेटी बनाई जाती है. So between the two of them, why they are discovering the truth about this murder mystery, which is the basic plot of the book, is when you start uncovering the secrets of the time. तो मेरे कहने का मतलब है there is where I use the fiction format to show the layers of knowledge. कि बहुत सारी चीजें छुपी थी, बहुत सारी चीजें नजर में आती थी, which is a lot like today. Today we have a lot of perceptions of what is reality, but उसके पीछे भी एक layer है, उसके पीछे भी एक layer है. So that is what I tried to show at that time, कि how the various secrets, the layers of secrets started getting revealed slowly. So one of the secrets, of course, was the politics of the time. आप आगे बढ़े. The other, of course, the most important thing is the mystery aspect. तो ये जो time है, ये बुद्धिज्म का टाइम है, जो esoteric aspects जो है, जो later हमारे तंत्रास में आने लगे और अघोर में आने लगे, the fringe elements, they were not religious. आज के टाइम में they're not practiced in religious traditions. ये सब आप fringes में आपको मिलेगा. But at that time it was mainstream. It was studied in a very mainstream manner. What we call tantra today, which is not mainstream at all. उसको लोग study करके they managed to create certain formulae which were practiced in the Sangha setup in very, very secret manners. but which released a lot of siddhis, ये सब जो होने लगा supernatural powers, they managed to get. आज के टाइम में भी there are certain monasteries जो तम्मो आप देखे होंगे, there is a very famous picture of a Buddhist monk who set himself on fire in I think the US. They self-combust, you know, and you will find अभी भी you will find monks, they know secrets of levitation. बहुत सारी उनकी जो है अभी monasteries में भी बहुत चीज छुपा है. So there is a lot of forbidden knowledge. That is another reason why it is also called mystery, because Buddhism still has a lot of forbidden knowledge in their texts. आप आगे चलें. There is also this cult, जिसके बारे में which I put in because it's a fiction format. They say that there were these 9 unknowns which started around the time of Ashoka. Now this is a fact. I don't know if has anybody heard about the 9 unknowns. So the 9 unknowns were started around the time of Ashoka. They believe that there are certain books which humanity should never get because उस time knowledge revolution होती. There was an expansion of knowledge. And उनके कहने का ये था कि अगर ह्यूमैनिटी और मैनकाइंड को ये नॉलेज मिल जाएगी तो मैनकाइंड तबाह कर लेगा अपने आप को. It's like, you know, them having atomic power in their hands. They will destroy themselves. तो ये 9 unknowns का their entire job was to keep these books forbidden. कि this knowledge should not come to in front of humanity or the masses. और उसके there are 9 subjects. One is on sociology. There are various subjects under which it is said that they have to protect these books. And over thousands of years, they say that these books are still there, being protected by the 9 unknowns. And their job is to see that we don't get our hands on it because we will not be able to handle that knowledge. So I have used that concept. It has been used by some authors. The most important thing which I wanted to talk about the Buddhist period was this explosion of the divine feminine. इसके आगे चलें आप. इसके बाद कुछ है, that is the inception. Okay, go back one more slide please. How much time do I have? Am I done? Am I talking too long? I'll wrap it up now. इसके आगे. इसके आगे. No, आगे मतलब forward. Okay. So the expansion of the divine feminine is a very important aspect. उनके बुद्धिज्म में एक concept है called Dakini. Dakini हम लोग, it was very strange for me also when I read it because हम लोग तो Dakini को Diane, you know, it's considered like a witch. But in the Buddhist pantheon, Dakini is supposed to be a female master. She is a tantric kind of a deity. She is of a human form who is self-enlightened, who is self-realized. And I believe that there was a time in the Buddhist period, in the later period, like 8th century, 9th century, when this confluence of Shaivism and Shaktism and Tantric Buddhism happened. And I think it was a global phenomenon. There was a time when the sacred feminine was, it's an overturn. जैसे हम अभी देख रहे हैं उसका opposite. It was, the focus was on the sacred feminine. And when you study the Tibetan texts, especially Vajrayana Buddhism, and the focus on the Dakini element, which is the female enlightened master, you believe that there was a time when the women became too powerful because of these magical practices and because of the power which was given to them through these spiritual enlightenment techniques, which I was discussing with ma'am also, which may have been there even in right up till pre-Islamic Arabia. हाँ जी.
Da Vinci's novel, the Dan Brown's novel, Da Vinci, sacred feminine is there.
Yes, so even that is what, you know, it was a global phenomenon. So she was being worshipped even in the Gnostic cults, which is Christianity, even the pre-Islamic Arabia. Allah was
That was the ideal version.
idol worship and Allah. They were feminine deities, which was, I think, a global phenomenon. So there seemed to have been a shift. There seemed to be a polar shift because the focus had become too much on the Shakti. And let us remember that then it might have created imbalance. Because if women start becoming too powerful, they say that, the first witch, the first sorcerer in the world was a woman. Shaman, the first shaman was a woman. Witch to औरतें ही को बोलते हैं ना, because they say that this kind of sorcery and witchcraft comes very easily to women. Now it so happened that at a time when Tantric Buddhism and Shaivism and Shaktaism, as a confluence of all religions, the woman became too powerful because it became very easy for her to get enlightened. लोग ये भी कहते हैं कि it started upsetting society because if women are not, if now we have only enlightened women who are flying around and doing magic, how will children be born? How will humanity progress? So it created a certain imbalance which was then corrected. So that is another reason why I'm calling it suppressed history, because there is no information. There seems to be a time, there was this entire sect called Sahajayana Buddhism in Odisha, which was practiced by a queen, and she talks about enlightenment for women, which is missing. You don't find the books, ma'am.
Today, when we talk about Buddhism, especially, I think I'm loud enough, especially in Maharashtra,
It's like those people are really not, I don't know how many people are aware of the ideologies of Buddha. Or is it just a conversion because, so that they are not suppressed? Yeah, so more than the ideologies, they have no clue about that.
Yes, so that ma'am is the biggest irony of the whole thing, that people might be wanting to become Buddhism for political reasons, but Buddhism, if you look at its nature and essence, is very different from what it is being projected to be.
how much of it is actually being followed?
I mean, if you start following Buddhism, the first question which will be asked to you, what Buddhism are you following? Because it has many sects. It is not कि Buddhism एक ही है. It is like even the various sampradayas and traditions of Hinduism. It is just
Ma'am, I'm sorry, the flow is so beautiful. What's going on? But I just want to know from you, because you said it, I think, at the beginning, that it's centered around, your book is on a murder mystery.
Yes.
It's fictional.
Yes.
But obviously, it is based on a lot of structured facts. From listening to you, I can glean and gather.
Yes.
I would like to know from you, as the author, would you say it is more fact than fiction?
I would say that there is, I stand by everything which is written in the book. But I cannot prove it, no, that's why I made it fiction. So fiction for me was, let me say, an artifice, a shield, a way of protecting myself. Because you see, if I had written this book in non-fiction, it would be very easy to say, kiska proof love, iska evidence stand.
Yeah. No, so I'm asking this question because I've read about your book, I heard about it, I've come to listen, and I intend reading it. And because you said how much time I have, I said I must ask this before it's time out. And I'm fascinated to hear you speak on this. But now that you say from yourself that it is more fact, maybe it fictionalized around the story of the boys. That's all, ma'am. Thank you for.
No, for me, fiction for me was just a way of protecting myself.
No, I accept that. I respect that. For me, I don't think that needs to be open and discussed.
It's so easy to shoot it down. It's very difficult to prove anything these days. You can't even prove gravity, they will question you. Gravity doesn't exist. So history ko kaise prove? That is why I made it fiction.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sure, I'd love to take questions.
Madam, one last question. मैं ये पूछना चाहता हूँ कि आप जो ये सप्रेस हिस्ट्री सबके सामने लाना चाह रही हैं, आपका क्या मकसद है? आप क्यों ये एस्पेक्ट्स को सामने लाना चाह रही हैं?
Very good question. तो ये तो बड़ी पर्सनल क्वेश्चन हो गई. मैं जब when I first started writing the book, I was fascinated by the ambience, monastic setting, all studying. अब कभी भी कोई monastery जाओ ना, लद्दाख में जाओ, तमाम monastery में जाओ, there is an air of mystery. and magic in these monasteries. So I was fascinated by that. But when I started researching and then I realized that there is very little information and the information may be suppressed. So it was very difficult, that is why it became fiction, because a lot of the material which I found it. But if I had to like connect the dots. So in the process of connecting the dots, I doubt, I stand by everything which is written. Everything which is written in the book, I will prove it to you. But then if you ask me, if you ask me for a primary source, there are no primary sources. This is all been done, this is all deductive logic I've used in the book, with facts and information which is available. So I can back it.
Is religion today is being based on the vote, means
Yes.
is religion is surviving on the base of their vote bank?
Correct. I think it is very unfortunate. There used to be a time when religion was about spiritual seeking. Though I think, to be fair, it's a question of degrees. Avashok ko bhi le lo. He has been accused that he used Buddhism as statecraft, which is a fact. कि कोई भी राजा होते थे वो तो अपनी religion and they use it like a tool. तो ये अभी का बात नहीं है, ये शुरू से हो रहा है. But there used to be a time of spiritual seeking. Now I think there is too many fault lines. It is now being used. उस जमाने में religion and statecraft was used for expansion. Ashoka used it, for conquest. And what a better way to conquer than religion, and that is something non-violent. And that is why it worked. There was no bloodshed. So people don't have many issues with him. At least, he didn't kill people. Though people say that he killed. But still, the spread of religion was more non-violent. But nowadays, religion is being used to reinforce fault lines, which is different from how it was being practiced then. And I feel that it has now become, you get more disturbed by practicing. I don't know, these are personal things. I would like others to share what your opinion is. Ma'am, please share. What do you think? I would love to know, what is the mood today? Do we need religion today? Do we need Buddhism? Do we need any religion at all? Do we need Buddhism? What form of Buddhism? Anybody? How much time do I have? Should I wind up? People are being polite, they're not stopping me. I think I should stop now. Yeah, I'll take the last question. Puja na. Out with the bathwater.
सिर्फ इसीलिए कि कुछ गुनाह किया ऐसा पूरे धर्म को ही केवल ठीक नहीं है, इसलिए बोलते हैं अंश मोटी चुका है और वो नीर शीर मतलब अलग कर देता है, इसको पेशेंस से
बिल्कुल
पूरे बेबी और बात
दोनों You're right. I have two thoughts on that. On what you just said. One is religion. को अगर आप चाहे भी तो you cannot get rid of it because it is the most human instincts of mankind, and that is to seek God. Spiritual seeking is what unites all of us, and it is what strongest part of our identity. तो इसको आप हटा भी नहीं सकते हैं. And there is another theory which says that कि हमारी जो civilization है, the reason it was resilient was because it was not just homogeneous. It was a lot of what you call different communities, different traditions and different practices. And there is a social theory that says that a heterogeneous society with a lot of diversity is more difficult to destroy than a homogeneous society. So it can be that we keep continuing, but may not be in this expansionist way. I will wind up here. I think I'm done. I have spoken too much. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, what an historic yet informational conversation I saw. I mean, we talked about the history of Buddhism, the history of Nalanda, and not only that, but we also talked about Buddhism in the contemporary world. In just 40 minutes of sitting over here, I have learned so much. I wasn't much interested in history, to be honest, but after listening to you, ma'am, I would surely love to dive into the world of Nalanda that you have created. It is an amazing masterpiece. At the outset, before we go to the conclusion, I would like to request the OCLF team to felicitate Miss Shivani Singh with a token of love. May we please have a round of applause for Miss Shivani Singh? Come on. At the outset, I would like to thank Ms. Shivani Singh for joining us today. We wish to hear her again and be equally enlightened as we all are today. And as from a dear, massive audience, I'm sure after witnessing and hearing this session, all of you are taking an enriched version of yourselves, just as I am. Thank you for joining us all today. Until I see you for the next time, this is Mustafa Juzul signing off. Thank you so much.
Welcome to Rise Sony Group, a vision beyond.